Well, welcome to the Aviation Insurance Podcast, where we love to bring you great topics on aviation insurance, safety, and just making the aviation industry all around better. And we have so many exciting technologies in today's industry, both from the aviation perspective and aviation insurance. And today, I'm excited to bring you one of those new and exciting technologies that will definitely be a major game changer as it pertains to safety. And so, with that, I'd like to introduce to you and welcome Howard Kass from Skyryse to today's podcast. So, Howard, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no, thanks, Tim. Great to be here. Excited to talk about this.
Yeah, I am too. So, just to get us started, tell our audience kind of that high level journey of how you got into this industry to where you're at, and you're wearing many hats at Skyryse today.
Yeah, no, thanks. Look, I'm a lawyer by training, which some people hold against me. Hopefully, you won't. And started off doing airline regulatory law, for commercial airlines and airports, and uh, that kind of morphed into different things. And then 9/11 happened, and I got asked to help stand up the Transportation Security Administration. I think I was the sixth guy in the room, so that was an exciting couple of years running around the country and helping make us safe again after 9/11. And
Great.
then after I left there, I went to U.S. Airways and began my airline career, and eventually became head of regulatory affairs for them. Did a lot of their M&A work, which resulted in a couple of mergers. A small one you might have heard of, with American Airlines,
Yeah.
and worked on that. And then at American, I was head of global regulatory affairs and really worked with lawyers and non-lawyers and furthered their goals around the world. And then after waking up too many times on an airplane, over the Pacific or something, not sure where I was, I realized maybe it was time to, look for something different. And then I went and started working at Clear and helped them get into some more airports and airline partnership, but also helped them on the government affairs side, opened a Washington office. Then, of course, COVID hits and travel doesn't look so good. And I suddenly found myself talking to startups and working with startups, either as a general counsel or government affairs, and worked with people in biometrics, with an eVTOL company for a couple of years, and was really just kind of working at helping companies think about, mainly startups, think about how they're going to reposition themselves post COVID and how to talk to the government, right? A lot of startups struggle with their talking to the government because founders are moving at a really fast pace, and the government doesn't always move at that pace. And I've been able to help successfully bridge that for a lot of startups. And I got introduced to Skyryse and started as an advisor. And then after a while, they said, "Hey, you kind of helped us build a government affairs platform, and you're good on business development and some legal work and all that. So why don't you join us?" And it's a really exciting company because what we're committed to do, it's a mission driven company, and we're committed to reducing aviation accidents, starting in general aviation. And obviously, if you reduce the number of accidents, you reduce the number of fatalities. And so, as someone who spent his entire career in and around aviation, the idea of maybe a capstone project of helping to make the industry safer and reduce fatalities got me super excited and gets me out of bed every morning and excited to come to work each day.
Wow. Well, aviation takes us on many journeys, and certainly you've been around, and it's amazing how the dots often connect to bring you from one place into the next, and into some area you never imagined to be. But it's definitely exciting, and Skyrise had a great feature in Flying Magazine recently, talking about what you're doing, and basically you're creating unique technologies that are designed to positively affect the safety of the aviation industry, just as you highlighted. And that initiative's taking flight with an R66, correct? And just kinda
Well,
explain
it's a
how.
Robinson 66. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
Robinson 66 to everyone else. To us, it's Skyrise One.
right, Skyrise One. So, yeah, just tell our audience, how Skyrise One, how that's working, the SkyOS technology that you're putting into it, help them understand what all that's designed to do.
Yeah. So all of us are used to getting on an Airbus aircraft or a Boeing aircraft or another commercial, Part 25 aircraft and not having a second thought about safety. And we're able to do that because in the last 16, 17 years, with the exception of the DCA, the unfortunate events in DCA earlier this year, there had only been one fatality in commercial aviation. And a lot of that is due to the fact that the cockpit and the commands and the control are all fly-by-wire with a lot of advanced avionics. Those those tools that help keep us safe on commercial aircraft don't really exist in general aviation before Skyryse One. Lots of reasons why: cost, size, Moore's law. Um, However, what we've done at Skyryse is we have broken through that. We have taken we have a slide we like to show where we show the avionics bay of a modern jetliner, and it's a room. I mean, we could have this conversation in that room, right? There's enough space. And then we show Skyryse One, the sort of the core of it, and it's about the size of a toaster. And what it's designed to do is to make things less complex, less complicated. I mean, take a look at at an aircraft cockpit. It's lots of knobs and dials, and really complicated to fly. And we don't make it simpler as we've gotten more technology. We just add more technology, right? So in some ways, it's harder today than it was arguably in earlier times. So SkyOS takes all that, gets rid of all that, and comes up with a simple, streamlined design where everything that the pilot needs is at his fingertips with touch screens. And there's also a stick that controls everything, all the movements of the aircraft. Uh, and so what we're really trying to do, what we looked at is the NTSB statistics. And over any 10-year period, there's always 250 to 350 people who get, unfortunately, lose their lives because of general aviation accidents.
Yes.
And when you go and you look at the largest causes of those accidents, it's almost always pilot error. And so what we figured out is that the reason pilots make a lot of errors is because of cognitive load, right? There's so much cognitive load on pilots, particularly when they get into an emergency situation. Flying a helicopter is one of the hardest things you can do. You have to use both arms, both legs, and if something goes wrong, you better remember everything in that 300-page, manual.
Mhm.
Well, that's the problem. When things are going wrong, that is when you are being called upon to remember processes and procedures that you don't frequently use. Yeah, you've trained on them, but you have to remember them precisely, or else it doesn't work out well for you generally. So, if we can reduce the pilot's cognitive load, let the pilot focus on, if aviating, navigating, and communicating are the three pillars of aviation, we focus. We take a lot of the routine tasks away in aviating, and leave the pilot to just fly, right? And focus obviously on navigating and communicating. Let me give you an example of that. In a helicopter, if you lose your main blade, your engine, you have about 2 seconds to throw the helicopter into what's called autorotation.
Mhm.
And if you're successful at that, you have a chance to get it all the way to the ground and avoid a bad outcome. If you're not successful at it, you are more than likely going to have a bad outcome, unfortunately. Well, it's really hard to do that, and you only have about 2 seconds to get it right. So a machine is far better at doing that and recognizing that you've lost the main engine and quickly adjusting the attitude of the blade to keep the momentum going so you've got power to get to the ground safely. That's what a machine should do. Now, as you approach the ground, you have to make a decision about where you're gonna land, right? So if you see 2 fields, we don't want the machine, although the machine could make that decision, we don't want the machine making that decision. We want a human to make that decision. Because if one field's empty and one field has a soccer tournament going on, obviously we want you to land where the empty field is.
Right.
And so what the whole point of SkyOS and what SkyOS does so well is it takes the best of machine, takes the best of humans in that interaction, and optimizes the flying experience, keeping you safe, letting you fly, and knowing that if something goes wrong, you've got, a permanent co-pilot sitting there with you who's going to help you land the aircraft safely or get out of a difficult situation. So many times we see other aviation technology that will, be your friend, if you will, until it's not, until it shuts off. And then you're stuck with an aircraft that's usually in a bad situation and you got to figure out how to get out of it. So we reduce the cognitive load everybody's safer, there's fewer accidents, and therefore fewer fatalities.
Yeah, man, that sounds very exciting and something definitely that is needed in the industry. And, so what's the progress, of the project as it stands today?
Yeah, so our first product is going to be, as you mentioned, the Robinson 66, and so we'll acquire Robinson 66s, take everything out more or less. We take out all the parts, the hydraulics, all that stuff, replace it with electromagnetic actuators, with our stick, with our displays, and the obviously the flight deck, the FADEC, and all the other required computers and software, et cetera. And it's all triple redundant, 3 different computers, right? Lots of backups and everything because we're building to 10 to the minus 9. Because if you're going to build to commercial aircraft standards, that's what you got to do. We're in front of the FAA. We're in the robustness testing phase and we have conforming aircraft flying. We've already passed all the safety of flight tests and expect to be shipping next year. If you want to see a lot of great video, I would encourage you to go to our website, which is Skyryse with a Y.com, or go to YouTube, and you can see some awesome videos, including one where our CEO, this is how much confidence we have in our system, sits in a Skyryse One, swipes his finger like that to turn the machine on, waits a couple of seconds while the machine runs all the checklists and all the stuff that you do in kind of a pre-flight scenario. Then he swipes up just like that, and the aircraft, after a couple of seconds, takes off the ground, and he's flying like that with no hands, which is not something you can ever do in a helicopter in the normal scenario. And as a result of that ability to do that, we were actually Collier Award finalists earlier this year. We didn't win, but hopefully in the future we will.
Yeah, no, congrats on that. It sounds like definitely a worthy project. So, what challenges or obstacles have you faced, or will continue to face as the future of this new technology, takes off?
Well, it's funny, right? The company's been around around 10 years, approximately 10 years. And it's exactly what you would have thought, right? When they started, you can't do that. It's never been done. It's too complicated. It's too complex. How are you going to get the price point to a place where people can afford to buy it? Because the components, a great little story about the company, when they were ready to start assembling everything they needed, they went to equipment manufacturers, OEMs, and others, and said, "Hey, we want to buy this or we want to buy that." And the parts alone, on an individual basis, were so expensive, it would have made the project untenable, and certainly not financially viable, and to recoup in terms of sales. So what did they do? They went out and they built all their own hardware and software, right? So they developed everything, and as a result of that, of course we have all the patents, but we were able to get things built at a price that makes the project affordable. So we will be able to see adoption into general aviation because it's going to be affordable for people to buy the system. And obviously, over time, with good insurance records, we hope to see the insurance industry hop on board and kind of encourage people to adopt to it. So we're excited about that. So we've got all of those sorts of things. We've had all those challenges and overcome them. There's always some pilots who think it's just autonomous flying or the machine's doing everything. And what's great is when we get them into one of our into the simulator, and we had it up in Oshkosh last summer and convinced a lot of people. We find that even the most grizzled of pilots will say, "Wow, this isn't what I thought," because we're not taking away the pilot's agency or ability to control. What we're really saying is you can go operate the aircraft however you want, but if you when you and we'll let you get to the edge of the flight envelope, but we're not going to let you tip into the flight envelope and get yourself in a situation that might be difficult even for a seasoned pilot to get out of. Right? We want to keep people safe, and so it does a lot of the mundane tasks for you. It organizes everything that's historically scattered around a cockpit into one spot and one area, and just makes life whole lot easier, right? In the same way that our smartphones have organized our phones, our calendars, our to-do lists, and into one thing. SkyOS sort of takes all the stuff in an aircraft and puts it in one place, therefore making it easier to access. all the while keeping you safe within the flight envelope. We want you to land safely.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that, if this technology over the years can dramatically reduce the number of losses, that will definitely have a positive impact on the insurance market and thus premiums to the customers. So obviously the big question is, do you foresee this technology going from, the helicopter or the Robinson into the fixed wing market?
Yeah, 100%. Let me give you an analogy here. If you and I were in the same location and we walked outside to the parking lot in front of whatever building we were in, and I said, "Tim, go pick out whatever car you want on the lot, and you can drive it off the lot." Um, it doesn't matter what car you went to. You would get in the car, you might take a second or 2 to orient yourself. You would turn the car on, and you would drive it off the lot because you can drive any car in a parking lot, right? Because cars, for the most part, all operate the same, right? Some are keys, some are push button, but aside from that, steering wheel, gear shift, etc. If I if I did the same thing with you and took you to an airfield and said, "You're a pilot, go pick out any aircraft you want to fly here." Maybe you pick out, maybe there's 1, 2, if you're really spend a lot of time flying, maybe you're able to fly 3, right? But for the most part, you don't have that selection. You don't have as wide a selection as you would with a car. Well, that's the beauty of the SkyOS system. Once it's in once it's, through the FAA, which and we're getting there, we're in good shape there. Uh, it can go into other aircraft, and it's the same system in every aircraft because, yeah, there'll be some tweaks here and there for the flight control laws that are different to each aircraft, but whether it's a rotorcraft or a helicopter making it stable, or it's a fixed wing aircraft, it's the same system. So if you dream big, and as startups, we obviously dream big, you could envision this coming across platforms. So a company that has a fleet of aircraft uh, could say to its pilots, "Yeah, you're checked out on 2, but we have 5 different aircraft types. If we put SkyOS into all of those aircraft, with a little bit of training, you could be able to fly all 5 of them," right? Obviously, there's training and licensure and all those things to be sorted out as we go forward. But conceptually, it will work in any aircraft, and like for example, not necessarily that relevant to the people who watch this podcast, but one of the things we're working on as our second product is putting SkyOS into a Black Hawk helicopter, right? And so that's a completely different model, but the process is the same. It's understanding the flight control laws, tweaking the software, but everything else works the same.
Yes, I love a company with a big vision and it wants to, transform an industry, and certainly when it brings safety and positively affects lives. So, and technology always takes longer, as you say, due to the things we can't control, the regulations, which is why Skyryse has you there, I'm sure, dealing with the government implementation and all that. But when do you think that move, would this be a 5-year thing before it's in a fixed wing vehicle? 10 years, just from your best
Uh,
guess as you sit today?
nah, so we already have contracts to move into fixed wing. They're not we don't talk about them publicly yet, but they're on our roadmap. So it's maybe not today or tomorrow, but it's not way out in the distant future.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's what I was looking for. So, based on what you're seeing, you obviously are focused on your product, but what other technologies do you foresee entering the aviation industry that will have a positive impact on safety?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. We see a lot of people out there that are focused on new types of aircraft and new propulsion systems and new, even supersonic aircraft, right? And I don't know if any of those make us safer, right? What I do know is they're expensive to fund and to build, and it feels like everybody wants to take the current aviation fleet and make it extinct. Um, we kind of look at it differently. We see the opportunity to repurpose the current fleet, right? Instead of reaching the end of life, we see SkyOS extending the life because we can retrofit these aircraft with the new, up to date modern technology that SkyOS represents, and of course, and bring the safety enhancements and improvements along with it. And so we see it as an opportunity. Maybe you could even think of it from a sustainability point of view. Instead of scrapping a lot of aircraft, we see it as a way to take the aircraft, take out what you don't need, make them easier to fly and less complicated and safer. So we kind of see it that way. Now, what we do worry about is anytime, we worry about an FAA that is constrained resource-wise, right? This is not a political commentary. It's just a fact. It's constrained. It's constrained, and so we just want to make sure that the FAA is focused on projects that enhance safety to the industry, and maybe not chasing, the next shiny object. And I'm not saying that they're not, but that's something we always worry about, right? Is someone's got a great idea and has a little bit of funding.
So, Howard, this technology is exciting, and obviously, as it comes to fruition, will have a massive impact on the industry. So, we'll definitely be, paying attention and excited to hear more, more about it and to see it's in the publications, with being released and all the positive numbers that follow. So, that in mind, was there any questions I should have asked you but didn't, or do you just have any closing thoughts for our audience?
Yeah, look, I think we're at a really exciting time with the product that we're bringing to market. It's an opportunity to solve this quiet crisis that I talked about earlier, with the consistent level, no matter what training or what other technologies, or FAA rules, et cetera. We can't seem to bring down this stubbornly high general aviation fatality rate, and we think that SkyOS really represents that opportunity to do that. We're excited about it. Again, I'd encourage your viewers of the podcast to go and check out the Skyryse technology on the web, and social media, et cetera. It's a really exciting time, and just so excited to be part of a company that is going to make it safer for all of us to fly, whether it's general aviation, or, as I mentioned, we're bringing the same technology to the military as well. Exciting times, and I'm delighted to have been a guest, and so thank you for having me on your podcast today.
Absolutely, and that's Skyryse, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So we'll be sure and link that in our show notes, regardless of what platform you listen or view this on. And yeah, Howard, I mean, it's so exciting. So we're honored that you gave us your time to share with us all the exciting things that's going on. We look forward to seeing the progress, and as I said earlier, and just to see that this has a massively positive impact on the safety of the aviation industry and those who travel in it. So thank you again for sharing today and for all your expertise.
Delighted to be here. Thank you.
Well, that's all for this episode. Join us again next time as we continue navigating the waypoints in aviation insurance. Until then, enjoy clear skies and unlimited visibility.
Thanks for listening to the Aviation Insurance Podcast. If you found this episode of value, please share it with someone who would benefit from this information. Don't forget to subscribe in your podcast player so you don't miss any new episodes, and to help our show have more impact. This episode is brought to you by Airus Insurance Solutions, your flight plan for navigating the turbulence of aviation insurance. For more information, visit airisinsurance.com. That is www.aerisinsurance.com. Disclaimer: these episodes are for educational purposes only, and due to the changing regulatory and legal nature of the business, some information may change over time. Having a well-educated and experienced aviation insurance broker on your team is an absolute requirement to success in business and for managing your aircraft and aviation business risks.